Welcome to the Let Me Finish podcast. I'm your host, Figure Eight. I think I don't say that in all the episodes, but it's in the script. So after the Fig and Swig release party, I started doing a ton of shows with Swiggle and Justin Joy, who was he was a super involved member of La Familia at the time. He made really clean music with real aggressive beats somehow. Like, it's hard to explain, but it was cool. He was an educator, so he wanted to make something, that was true to the culture, but also that he could show the people in his community, which was tight. And he made like some pretty dope albums with Swiggle, honestly. His dad works at Amazon to some capacity, and they were putting on this big music festival in Minnesota, and he had gotten Justin and Swiggle on it, and they told me that if I could pay for my flights, that I could stay in the hotel that they were getting, and I could perform. So somehow, some way, I gathered the money together, and we flew out to fucking Minnesota. So Swiggle and Justin, they got their tickets right away. Like, it was a part of the package for them. I had to buy a ticket, and I had to save up the money to get it, and I had to, get an expensive one for 4 days away or whatever. And I flew in like 6 hours after everybody and just had to find my way in Minnesota. Like, I had just enough for an Uber, but I had to walk and take a bus to get a little bit closer to the hotel. And by the time I got to the hotel, no one was there. So I was just in fucking Minnesota. And then when I finally caught up to everybody, all we cared about was finding weed. Like, we were wandering the streets trying to find some fucking weed. And it was late at night at that point. So I don't think we found any weed that first night. So we all just got, we got some drinks from the bar at the hotel, and then we crashed. And then the next day we had a show at a festival, the Veterans Festival, and we had to do clean music. I don't remember what songs I did, but T. Jones was there too. So it was me, Swiggle, Justin, and T. Jones. It was this huge fucking like outdoor thing that was attached to like a fancy bar and grill kind of, but it was like a brewery, I guess. And there was a few venues surrounding it, but it was this large amphitheater type thing with it was one of the coolest things I had ever seen, but it was not a crowd I had expected to rap to. We were in Minnesota at a veterans like Harley event at a brewery, and it was like almost all 50 plus year olds. Like, there was kids there, but everybody was fucking old, man. And people were honestly relatively receptive to everything that we did. I think they just thought it was cool that we were rappers and we didn't swear up there. But after that show, me and Swiggle, like, anyone with an artist bracelet just got to get beers. So we drank, and we talked more than like I feel like we ever had up to that point about actual shit. And by the time we went back to the hotel, we were fucking blasted. And I just remember me and Swiggle jumping up and down on the bed, because he always shits on Eminem, but when he got drunk, he was like, I used to like him, and just started rapping a random song from Encore. So it was just me and Swiggle standing on a bed in a hotel in Minnesota, screaming mid Eminem lyrics. It was awesome. The next day we had a different show in another city. I forget the two cities that are right next to each other, that they are the Twin Cities. But we had a show in each of them. And so the next day we went to the other place, and it was like a different brewery, but it was super like I don't know, whatever the opposite of industrial is. Everything was stone. Everything was like, we were like performing in a crater. It felt like surrounded by this like finely crafted stone. It was super cool. And like, we were at the bottom of this like rows of stone. It was just a lot of fucking stone. And there wasn't a ton of people there, but me and Swiggle sold a ton of merch at that show. And I remember thinking that was so fucking dope that we were in so far away where none of these people knew us. Like we got to perform at a venue that just had a built-in audience. We were the entertainment, and people were just excited to see music from somewhere else. The next day we wandered around Minnesota a bit more. Like we just explored the city, and I think we filmed a video. Somebody filmed a video for something. I don't remember what it was, but we did a lot of filming. I think there is a like a recap of the trip on Swiggle's YouTube somewhere buried. But that day we did find somebody who was selling weed, and we bought some, and when we went to go roll it, it was like hard as a rock. We weren't even sure it was fucking weed, and Swiggle threw it at the ground and was stomping on it. He was so fucking pissed. And then I think we found a girl at the bus stop who was like rolling a blunt, and we like damn near tackled her, and we're like, what do we need to give you for that weed? And we paid so much money for the almost no weed we got that day, but we fucking were gonna smoke if it killed us. And then the next day I think we were leaving. I think Swiggle and T Jones and Justin Joy were leaving at like 9 in the morning. And my flight was at like noon. And I set my alarm. We all were plastered again, just having a really good time. Like we really genuinely good time. Nothing stressful had happened. Everything, the performances went well. We made some money. We got a lot of free drinks and food. So we went to bed, and then I woke up and was like, oh, my alarm didn't go off. It's probably early. And I clicked on my phone, and it didn't turn on. So, like, it had died somehow. Like, I swore it was plugged in, and it was sitting right next to the charger. So I suppose it's possible. I just set my phone on a table and thought it was charging. And it died, and so I had to plug it in and then run over to the microwave to see that it was 3 p.m. So I had missed my flight by like 3 to 4 hours. And I could not find my shit. So I was like packing my bag, panicking. I that's never happened to me before. Like I've been on a plane a lot of times. I've never missed a flight. So I was just like, I just got to go and find out. And I was packing everything as quickly as I could, and then I couldn't find my fucking wallet. I searched everywhere and could not find my fucking wallet. I was pulling the blinds down. I was doing so much fucking shit, and I could not find my wallet. And I was pretty sure I couldn't get on a plane without an ID. And I hadn't talked to my dad in about, 4 or 5 years, maybe 3 years at that point, somewhere between 3 and 5 years. And I had to call him and ask him to send me a picture of my birth certificate. And to be honest, I was surprised he answered, and he did. So I had that picture of my birth certificate, and I grabbed all my shit and ran out the door and stepped on my wallet in the hallway, just right outside in the hallway. And so I could have not texted my dad if I just, walked into the fucking hallway, but I guess that is what it is. It's another layer of this fucking Minnesota story. So I used the money I had made from the CDs, called an Uber, and fucking just had a full-blown panic attack on the way to the airport, thinking I was going to have to live in Minnesota. And I got there, and they were like, you just have to sit on this waiting list, and if a seat opens up, you get that seat, but you might have to sit for a very long time. And I was like, all right. And I sat down and opened my iPad and watched Deadpool. And there's a scene in Deadpool where he says something about this is more famous than the fucking glory hole in the bathroom at the Minnesota airport. And I could not stop laughing, and it's not even really that funny, but I think I was just broken at that point. And then everyone was staring at me, So I was in this place of, I'm stuck here for however long, and now everyone that's waiting around me is annoyed with me. It didn't take that long. I think it was like 2 hours, and they got me on a flight, and I made it back. But I hate talking to people, and I hate fucking up, so I was pretty goddamn traumatized from the experience. But we made it back, and I would say like a week after I came back, we got Timmy out to the house. Now, me and Timmy only did one song together where we both kind of just freestyled over a YouTube beat. He put it on his SoundCloud, but it wasn't like really a thing. So we took one of Muffin's beats, and no, actually, I think it was Energetic. It was Energetic's beat. The dude that I met at my first show, he kind of had joined the group loosely around that time, but I think he was unofficially just sending us a lot of beats. But he produced that, and it was this song called Olaf, which I think is in contention with Business for being technically, again, one of the first Fish songs, because Timmy and Lai are now Fish. But it's not technically the first one released as a Fish song, so it's one of the early ones for sure. And we made this song called Olaf in the garage in Troutdale. It might have been all three of us recorded on separate occasions. Like, I might have started... No, Timmy might have started the hook with the hook. He did the hook first, and then I did my verse later on, and then later on, Lai did his verse. So, when that came out, it really felt like I was getting close to this being a part of La Familia thing, because when I first hit Timmy up for a feature, he told me $400. He didn't know who I was, probably watched one of my things and was like, I don't want to work with this guy, which is super fair. So the fact that he was willing to work on this song with me was like a big deal. Now, I said at the end of the last episode that Timmy told me I sucked, and that kind of started this next chapter. But the next thing that happened after Timmy told me he sucked, I sucked, which led to this. There's one more thing that happened before I can get into this, the meat of that a little bit more, and it happened just after Minnesota. So I wanted to tell the Minnesota story first, and then get into this. So the next episode, I'm gonna pick up from the Timmy said I sucked outro of the last episode, because it's a really important thing. It changed everything, and I went to Minnesota and was really self-conscious of it the whole time. Like, do I deserve to be here? Do I deserve to be able to travel and represent Portland and represent my group and Swiggle's group? And I don't know, but right after Minnesota is when so we'll get into that the next episode, but I did want to bring up the last episode. I talked about how we did this Fig and Swig album release party, and we had CDs, and we were getting journalists there, but I remembered that we didn't even actually put the thing out. Like, we just put it on SoundCloud and had CDs. Like, we never released it to all platforms until like 2020. I feel like that's it. We felt like we were doing so much and doing so much correctly, but it's crazy now that I'm looking back at how we did this and how we got here, how much we were doing so fucking wrong. And it's crazy to think that there was a time where we were like, we don't need to be on Spotify, we're on SoundCloud. Why would we need another platform? We have CDs. And we were in, this is 5 years ago, 6 years ago. It's not it wasn't unreasonable then to be on Spotify. I feel like I knew people at that point who were on Spotify. I don't even think we were above it. I just don't think we thought of it. One more thing about Minnesota is Justin Joy's parents are like, we're some of the coolest people ever, and I always feel so self-conscious around like upper class people because I'm covered in face tattoos, and I just am who I am unapologetically. And they were really kind to me, and Swiggle and T Jones. That was a really cool trip that I got to be on, and how fucking poetic that I had to call my goddamn piece of shit dad while being with someone's cool ass dad. But shout out Justin Joy for that, and shout out Swiggle for believing in me enough to bring me there to perform with him. Yeah. So next episode, we're gonna talk about the shroom trip that almost ended it all. And as always, before you interrupt me, let me finish.